Welcome. We are back for another episode of the Myst Book Club, Book of Denis specifically. I've got with me our guest, our special guest, Everett. You want to say hello?
Hello. Sure.
All right, so let's see. Today, what we had was our second part of part one. Section 2, part 1. I think we'll be able to finish out part 1 for next time. That seems like a reasonable amount. It's just given the time to talk about these things. I didn't think that we could probably squeeze in the whole end of part 1. All right, there we go. So I would say that my little summary for this section was that the search for the survivors in various ages they might have escaped to begins. I mean, it's very early days there. And they start in the lower city for some reason. Excellent questions. Why? Marm is the one who brings the common sense. That that was my summary of it. Not a great summary, but hey. There wasn't a whole lot of like technically things happening per se, but you know, there was stuff that occurred, and I did learn some things for this one.
Technically, things happen. That's the summary.
Technically things happen. There's not like there wasn't any huge drama, I would say, in this section. Just me going, why are you starting in the lower city? Like, there's not going to be any books there. And he knows that. So it's like, why did you start where there were not... I did get a little confused. You're going to have to help me with remembering what exactly we knew about the lower city from the previous book, because I feel like there were some contradictions, but I could be very wrong about that. I'm often wrong about that.
Yeah, I will have some. I also have some questions about Dunny urban layout.
Okay, good. I'm not the only one. Because I was like, wait a second, this seems wrong? But is it wrong? It might not be wrong. I mean, the first bit that I quoted out was actually back on Averon, and it was literally just about the lodge house that they were staying in, and I was like, something seems off about this. And I think I'm gonna put this one down to humans are really bad at estimating numbers of crowds, like looking at a group of people and being like, how many people that is. Because I think they reached a little bit high here. Because they say that there are hundreds of people in the lodge house. Like, they're in a quote unquote stall in the lodge house to sleep, and there are hundreds of people around them, supposedly. And I was like, that seems like a lot of people for one building. Is there like precedent for this in real life? So I went looking, as you know that I do, because I'm obnoxious like that. Never underestimate my desire to correct these authors. But the closest thing that I could think of, and the closest thing that I could find, was longhouses. Specifically because I was looking for stuff that was not like modern tech, because they don't seem to be at like we make buildings out of concrete and glass level of technology.
Right.
On Averon. So longhouses might be a little bit low tech for them, but it was kind of the closest thing that I could come up with. So according to the Canadian Encyclopedia, canadianencyclopedia.ca, longhouses for Indigenous people in Canada housed up to 100 people at their largest that they know, which is a maximum of something like 93 meters long, which is pretty big, which is the longest example that they cite. So now that would be broken up into hearths of families, which would be spaced out approximately 6 to 13 meters apart. And a hearth could be up to 2 nuclear families of up to 5 to 6 persons. Now, the way that they phrased it, I don't know if that means that like both families together were supposed to be 5 to 6 people, but I think it means like up to 12 people per hearth. That's what I assume, because a nuclear family would be at least 3. So, you know,
Is it this a long house? I've heard the term long house, but is that just means um, it's
it
just
is a
a big building with one huge room in it?
Yeah, basically. It's like it is literally what it sounds like. It is sort of an oblong, like just a long sort of lozenge shaped uh building.
Mm.
I'm sorry. I grew up in upstate New York, and one of the things that we learned about was the like native people there, and they built longhouses as well. And
Mm.
so to me, it's just like, oh, everybody knows what a longhouse is. I apologize. Not everybody knows what a longhouse is. Um, so that's more spread out than I imagined that they were describing with the Avernese, because it's sort of like like Atros is very conscious of the hundreds of people around. So it kind of sounds like they're just sort of like packed into cubicles in there. Like that would be a quote unquote stall. I don't really know, because they don't describe it, because why would they?
Mhm.
Um, it was weird to me for a couple of reasons. One, because this would be a very crowded way to live. It doesn't seem like something that there's a whole lot of precedent for, at least on Earth. And also that like the village just didn't seem that crowded. It didn't seem that crowded for like multiple hundreds of people to be around. But again, like
Yeah.
these authors don't just generally describe extra people if they don't have a reason to. Like if people are fleeing Denis, they describe crowds. If there's like the fire at the ink works, they describe a
Mhm.
crowd, right? But like otherwise, they just kind of don't. So like the fact that it didn't sound like there were that many people before, I guess doesn't really mean much. But anyway, it just at the
Well,
end of the
I think
day, it's a
mhm.
very large amount of people, like larger than the largest longhouse in Canada would hold.
Mhm.
Somehow they're fitting all of these people into the lodge house, and it just seemed a little bit unlikely to me that that would be the thing. But again, just human beings in general are not great at estimating numbers of people in a crowd, and so I think they just they just went a little high on it. I don't think it's like incredibly
Mhm.
stupid. It's just like I wondered if there was something of a low tech level time period that had precedent for hundreds. Not really.
I think perhaps the confusion comes from the fact that when we first meet Marham, doesn't she look out over the village and she sees her father and Atris and Catherine
It,
outside? And
yeah, she's really
it sounds like,
focused in on them, so
and
she's not describing other people.
I took it to mean, and those were the only three people outside.
That is how I also took it to mean, which doesn't really track with hundreds of people in a village.
Mhm.
Like there would be more activity outside.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, at least we're on the same page in terms of what it felt like they were describing there, because it
Mhm.
definitely felt like they were describing, you know, uh, that those are the only people around,
Yeah.
and so it sounded more empty than there being hundreds of people in the lodge house. So I don't know. I mean, maybe what it is just because, like I said, these guys don't describe extra people if they don't have to, generally speaking, just like they don't describe appearances usually. There's been more description of what people look like in this one than in like the
Mhm.
previous two combined. But they just don't. They wouldn't mention if there was a crowd. But it felt weird. It felt really weird. But what was actually in that scene is that I had some confusion, and I imagine that you will have an interpretation of this. I'm mostly just like, huh? Did I misunderstand something? Because he looked up at the great raftered roof of the lodge house high above and grinned. The look on Marm's face when she finally opened her present, he whispered. Why, you'd have thought I wrapped the sun itself and given it to her. Catherine nodded thoughtfully then. She's a hungry one, starving for knowledge and for strange exotic places. Oh, I know that hunger, Atris. Yes, he said quietly, conscious of the hundreds of sleeping Averonese surrounding them. And now she'll have a chance. We can teach her, Catherine, teach her how to write. And I was like, was she not already learning how to write? Because they talked about it. Like, I went back and just mere pages ago, less than 10 pages prior, there's a quote where she's sitting in the library in Kromagana learning the written script. Like, it's not capitalized here. I don't know if it's capitalized in the more modern version, like teach her how to write with a capital W, but it's not capitalized here, which
That's a good
suggests
question.
she's not talking like he's not necessarily talking about like write books with a capital B, but just like
Mhm.
write the script. Um if it was a capital W, I'd be like, okay, so she was learning how to write Denis script just like to write a letter, not like to write a a linking book or a descriptive book. But like she knows how to write some. It wouldn't be the beginning. And also, I'm sorry, like if these guys didn't know how to write, why would you have given them books, Atris? I'm very confused. Like his
Well,
gift was books,
mhm.
like blank books. So I that part just left me bewildered. I'm like, does she or does she not know how to write? Like, what are we doing?
well,
Is it just a capitalization issue?
so um, I, I just take it to mean that she's early in her training.
Yeah. Okay.
That she's not going to write an A. I mean, Atris was very rushed, and
Oh
Gann
yeah, yeah,
rushed
yeah,
himself.
yeah, yeah. 100%.
So, so I think if we're working on a more leisurely pace here, then yeah, I think that she has years to go before
Right.
she actually needs to write an age.
Sure, but at the same time, it's like just because the W is not capitalized, at least in my version. Um, my interpretation of it there was like to write Denise script at all, which she does know because she was like it literally less than 10 pages before that, maybe 10 pages for you. I don't know. My pages are pretty big. Um, like she was saying she was learning it. Like she said that. So I I don't know. I was like maybe the authors just like forgot to capitalize it or like cuz
So
lowercase
I, I,
books and
I can
lowercase writing.
confirm. I can confirm in the 2025 edition that does change to a uppercase W.
Okay. All right. All right. So that is what they intended. Okay.
Mhm.
That would make more sense because I just like ground to a halt for a second and was like, okay, I gotta go check. And I went back to go check to see if I really legitimately did remember that she was learning how to write already because I was like, wait a second. Uh, okay. Are we sure that she doesn't already know? Because I'm pretty sure she knows.
Mhm.
I don't know. I guess yeah. It's just they changed it suggests that at least at some point between 1997 and 2025, somebody official was like, "That is a little confusing," and changed it. So, all right, that
Mhm.
this is one time where the change actually made a difference, I guess, because it was like a difference in comprehension. Because previously, it's like it makes a difference in the flow of the text. Most of the changes, and then there's a couple of capitalization changes to make it more consistent, but it wasn't. I don't think anything that you had in last time's change documentation created any difference in comprehension for me. But this one would. This one would matter.
Yeah, and actually, while we're on that topic, maybe this is a good time to dispose of the fact. Two pieces of information. One is so for today, I do not have another
Yeah,
update
yeah.
from the 2025 edition. I'm working on a batch of comparison because I think that's going to be the best way to do this. So it's going to be a little
Yeah.
while before I have another update,
Yeah.
but I am working on it just in a bigger batch. However, I did notice one change for today, and
Okay.
it's actually one that you had talked about last time as having
Okay.
not happened. And that is that Agaris is now spelled uppercase A apostrophe lowercase g.
Really?
Yeah. So
Huh.
so
That's interesting.
Science new policy reversing 30 years of precedent is
Of
that
course. I mean, I don't really expect any different from them, but yeah.
it's in a Dunny to Latin transliteration for a single word proper name. One does not capitalize after the apostrophe.
Stylistically, I prefer the capitalization. I don't know if that's just because it's what I'm used to looking at after a whole book of it, or what. But I like. I don't have like a lore preference. I don't think.
Well,
I don't think I care like lore wise. It's just like stylistically looking at it, I think I prefer the capital.
And I mean, for me, this goes against that does goes against what I do because I spell my name uppercase D, lowercase e, uppercase p.
Yeah.
So that would be yeah. I mean that would be a difference for me. But anyway, that is new. That's the new rule.
I'm surprised.
Apparently.
I'm surprised by that, honestly, that they would change that. I'm surprised. I gotta be real. I'm surprised they noticed that they were inconsistent. I'm legitimately surprised that when they went back to change things like Chroma Agana, that they actually noticed. They were like, "Oh crap, Agaris, like we should probably address this." It just doesn't strike me as something. Clearly, somebody. This is what I'm gonna say. Somebody who was like deep in the lore became their editor for the 2025 edition. Welcome, Spiper. Good day to you as well. Because I don't believe in my soul, I don't believe that Rand could or would find these things.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Oh, yeah. Spiper. Good to see you. Welcome aboard.
You want to know what my next quote was that I pulled out and why? Because I pulled it out for like a very specific reason, and I found it funny. It has nothing to do with anything except that it's just, "This was my father's room," he said, "his study." Atris walked across and lifted something from among the books on the desk, an elaborate-looking pipe. He lifted it to his nose and sniffed, then placed it back, a strange expression on his face. And the only reason that I pulled it out was because I just would like to take a moment to remember that in Riven, Gen is smoking frogs.
Mm-hmm.
This man does not have a whole lot of, the bar is not high for what he's willing to put in a pipe, so that strange expression on his face, God only knows what that pipe smells like, because I don't know what he was smoking during Book of Atris.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know what he was smoking during that era of his life, but he's willing to smoke, like, dried frog mucus, so the man... He did not have the most discerning, I'm not gonna say palate, but like there was not really a line that he was gonna draw about what he was willing to put in a pipe. And I just wanted us to remember that the man was smoking frogs, because I find that pretty funny still.
Very good.
And that was it. That was all that was about. I mean, it's also like him just remembering his dad, but like, and he does, you get at least a little indication in this section that, do we know if smoking frogs was unusual for the Dini? I guess we don't. I mean, were there any descriptions of smoking in Book of Tiana? Did anybody
Uh,
smoke?
I I don't remember seeing anyone smoking. I forget if Gan is smoking in the Book of Atris. I think maybe he is. Isn't he on some sort of? Isn't he using drugs in some
I feel
capacity?
like he was using drugs. I don't remember if he was smoking. That's the thing. Like in this scene, when he picks up the pipe and sniffs it, like it feels like this is something that would be familiar to Atris,
Mhm.
but I don't remember him smoking in Book of Atris, but like that was a year ago or whatever, so I don't
Mhm.
remember uh from reading it, but I would say that to Spiper's question, if we know if smoking frogs was unusual for the Dini, I would say we don't know, but I would guess that it's not common because smoking didn't seem to be common. But it could just fall in the category of things the authors didn't deign to describe for us about Dini life.
I I'm I have always assumed that once Gan was uh, Cat was imprisoned on Riven, he
Mhm.
went around and huffed everything he
Oh yeah.
could until he
I,
settled on
I
frog.
I think there's actually some written evidence of that in the game because he basically writes something to the effect of, I've tried a bunch of stuff and the frogs are the best. I don't think he describes what else he would have tried, but I feel like there's a journal entry from Gen about the smoking the frogs that's basically like, of all the things that I've tried, the frogs produce the smoothest smoke. To which I'm like,
That might
they also probably produce the best high or something because like it's frogs, you're smoking frogs. Like God only knows what's in there. But I think he did go around and just like huff everything to, like he smoked all the things on
mhm.
Riven until he found something worth smoking, which come to think of it is a little bit of an interesting problem, isn't it? Because it's not like he hadn't been to Riven before. Like, did he bring other stuff to smoke on Riven? Was he a
Mhm.
smoker before Riven? I assume so based on this, but this may have been added into like retcon in smoking because they had written, like, this came out in 97, so they'd written Riven, and at that point
Mhm.
had written in him smoking the frogs. So then they were like, oh, we got to put in smoking for Gen. There's got to be a precedent for it or something. I mean, that may be where this comes from, and he may not have smoked in Book of Atris. I don't
Yeah,
remember him doing it, but I don't really know.
yeah. I we need to go back and look. It's
Yeah.
possible that if this is not a Dunny thing, because I don't
Yeah.
remember anything,
I don't
then
remember
he
anything
yes,
about it.
it's quite possible he picked it up on one of his other ages.
Oh yeah. I mean, he's he wouldn't, I mean, he wouldn't have picked it up from Anna, but at the end of the book, I feel like I have I feel like my memories of the end of Book of Tiana are foggy for some reason, but she takes him back out to the surface, right? To live.
Mhm.
So he might have had contact with the human settlements and learned it there as a
Oh,
teenager or something.
he said he might pick it up from the mod. Maybe
He might have done that, you know. He
Probably
might have
not
done
the
that too.
traveling. Probably not the traveling merchants. It's hard to imagine Anna just like buying.
No, I mean she wouldn't buy that stuff, but like
Mhm.
he might have seen the merchants smoking
Maybe.
is what I mean. Like, because
Mm.
we know humans smoke, so I'm just thinking like where would he pick it up? I mean, where would, because to me personally, as somebody who's like allergic to anything that's in the air, it seems
Mhm.
antithetical to life to consider just being like, I'm going to purposely draw smoke into my lungs. Um,
Mhm.
I don't know why you would decide to do that unless you saw somebody else do it. I don't know why the first person to do it did it, but like once we've got it established as a thing that people do, I feel like he would have seen somebody do it, and like we know humans do, so he could have seen humans doing it. I don't imagine her buying him cigarettes, for example, but like he could have seen somebody that she dealt with smoking.
Mhm.
That's all I got on how he would have picked it up. I mean, maybe, or the Ahmad, because I guess we probably don't really know anything about that time.
Yeah.
Because I would be very interested in learning about that time, so of course they didn't write about it. It's like every time there's some period of time where I'm like, this would be greatly important to character development for somebody, that's the part they skip. I'm like, please write about the part that would be interesting. No? Okay, I guess we have to sit and listen to more descriptions of digging through rocks that are incorrect instead. That's a really good use of paper. The Denis would be appalled at their waste of paper. I actually don't know. Do we know if the Denis write fiction? Right? They have fairy tales basically. Because Atris had that book in Book of Atris that was like the tales. Well, I mean, it's not like fairy tales. I guess technically, it's like wishful thinking
Yep.
history. A Book of Kata could have been
Yeah.
interesting.
Yeah.
Yes, it could have been very interesting, Spiper. I would
Um,
read that if it wasn't written by these two. But
yeah, I think that would be fun. Yeah, Book of Keto would be fun fan fiction.
yeah. There are a lot of the book of blank character name that would be really, really fascinating to explore that
Well,
we don't
yeah,
get.
maybe not the Book of Keto, but like the Book of Keta's like older sister, who's just completely horrified at everything that's going on.
Maybe. I mean, if you followed if you were trying to be true to the way that they write these when you wrote your fan fiction of it, there would be multiple perspectives that were randomly switched to, like as though they just throw them on a lazy Susan and like pick one off at random to switch to their perspective for some reason.
Mhm.
Sometimes in the middle of a section for whatever choice they made. So you would also get Kita's perspective as well as the older sisters. I'm pretty sure if you were trying to be true to it.
Mhm.
However, if you were being really true to the way that they write, you would call it the Book of Kita, and she would be in it, but it would be her older brother that would be the biggest character in the story. It would
Mhm.
not be a
Mhm.
woman. It would be a man. So, because that's what they did with Tiana. It's like, yeah, we named it after her, and she does get to be in it quite a bit, but it's really every time we can afford to switch to the perspective of a man, we do. Which
Mhm.
I think is just like I'm not saying that they're being misogynistic in that. It's just like you want to write what you know, and they're not women. I don't think it's like it's neither here nor there. It's just funny to me that like they would name the
Mhm.
book that and then sort of try to run away from it at every possible opportunity. Um,
Yeah. Um, the what's the author of that reminds me of uh, um, never mind. My thought is not compiled enough
okay,
to elaborate on that point. Maybe later.
I like the way you put that. Your thought is not compiled enough. That's like half of my thoughts. I feel like. um, my next little quote that I pulled out was Atris reflecting on his father and his time. Uh, I would say in Kavir. I mean, like, not that they didn't go into Denis to look for books and stuff, but he mostly was on Kavir, wasn't he? When
Mhm.
he was there learning. Um, I was only a child, he answered, his eyes looking past her being Kitron in this situation, toward the great twist of rock on the far side of the cavern. I didn't understand just how much he had twisted things in his mind. I had to unlearn so much that he taught me. I thought I'd thrown him off, but his shadow is everywhere here. I wasn't so conscious of it when we made the breakthrough, but today, standing in his room, I could almost see him. Then maybe that's why you're here, to throw off his shadow. He was silent for a while then, what I really fear is that he's already destroyed all of the books. Why should he do that? It's just something I remember him saying. He used to warn me against using the books. He said they were unstable and that it would be dangerous to venture into those ages. But that was a lie. Those books were all proper books, approved by the guilds, checked regularly by the maintainers. They would have been carefully written, designed to be stable. And he would have known that. So why warn me about them unless he didn't want me going into them and finding other Denis? Now, I don't specifically remember Gen saying that, but it could have been mentioned in passing in Book of Atris, and I've just forgotten because it's been 1,000 years since I read it at this point. And Book of Tiana has kind of erased it from my mind. It just because it's newer, fresher in my brain. But I would argue that based upon Myst 3 Atris and some of his attitude in this book already, he really hasn't unlearned everything from his father. But I guess we're meant to assume that Anna told him the truth off, quote unquote, screen at some point between the end of Book of Atris and the beginning of Myst, since by the beginning of Myst, Anna's dead. Because how else did he learn about the way the books were managed by the maintainers?
Yes,
unless this
I
is
did.
extremely new knowledge and unlearning. I don't know.
Yeah, I did. That stood out to me too. That yes,
Yeah, this is
that
knowledge that,
that
as far as
passage.
we know, he doesn't have.
Yes, yeah, that passage requires Anna to have done some additional teaching of him on
Yeah.
Mist Island.
Yeah, 100%, because there's no other way for him to know this, because it wasn't stuff that Gen taught him. His access to material to learn when he was with his father was also restricted by his father. So like he's not gonna have had documents that would have told him about this, especially because presumably if he had had access to information that these ages were written and then maintained and checked on and certified and everything, like he would have rebelled against his father sooner because he would have had that knowledge. So this has to have come from Anna, and it has to be later knowledge. Now, what I wonder is, did he get the true story of the fall at some point in that time period? Because I don't think that he got it before his time with Gen. I mean, she told him something that we don't get to see. I think because they didn't know what they were going to write, and so they just didn't put it in. Because they basically time skip that. Like when he's like 10 or something, she tells him the stories so that he knows that Tiana existed. What he doesn't know is that that's her. And she tells him a story that I assume, because again, it's just basically like, wow, he heard the story, and that's all we get. We don't get to see it. That in this version that she tells him, first of all, it's vague, and second of all, it's guilt driven, that she's telling him a story where she's feeling guilty, but she's not naming Tiana as herself, because she doesn't want him to think of her that way. Because it does still sound, when he's getting Gen's extremely incorrect version, that he does know that there is this woman who might be to blame for things. So I don't know what version she told him then, but does he know the actual version now? Like, does he know the truth? It's not obvious if he does at this point.
Well, I mean, there's a reference to the cart of death.
Yeah, which, did she know about that? I don't remember.
Yes.
Did Grandpa Atris see them with the cart, or was the cart like before he went back to check? I just don't remember.
Well, yeah, he sees them at a distance,
Mm-hmm.
and I mean, the problem was he sees it at a distance and it extrapolates a whole bunch of correct information.
Right, because, well, I mean, let's
Um,
remember who's
but
writing this and how they
yes,
do.
but but if we grant that he, um, you know, got things correct, however he did,
Right.
then yes, because he goes to his family age,
Right.
knowing that all of the ages are in danger and they have to stay on Earth to not be in danger.
Yeah.
So Anna knows that much.
Yeah.
That the cart is making its rounds.
Okay. Okay. I mean, I don't think we see him tell her when he comes back and he's like delirious and sick, but like, um, it could easily have happened off screen because he takes a while to actually
Mhm.
die. So they
Well,
could have had a lot of conversations that we don't
yeah.
see.
Well, and I
Um,
think we're yes. I mean, it's pretty clear that he updates. It's pretty clear that he gives her the basics of what it
right,
is that he is.
right. Now, here was another thing that I found this odd, and I continue to find it a little bit odd. Now, I agree with Atris that Gen is 100% capable of destroying all of the books he found. This is books with a capital B. But I
Mhm.
don't necessarily understand why he would, because if mastering the art is his ultimate goal and the way that he's doing it is by copy pasting, doesn't he want to keep as much copy paste material as possible so that he can copy it?
Yeah. And so
So I was a
this
little confused why he would destroy it.
so I found this part interesting, and it's a part I had completely forgotten. And it's also
Mhm.
I don't remember this being in the Book of Atris. Maybe
I
it
don't think
is.
it was. I don't think it was. I agree that I don't remember it being in the book.
Um, but what I think the significance of it is that deep down, it adds another interesting layer to Gen's psychology that changes it
Mm.
somewhat in my mind. But I don't think it's
Yeah.
necessarily a contradiction that he at one level he is a restorationist. As we've
Mhm.
talked about before, he's wanting to return to everything he remembers from age 8, but he also wants to build it himself. So when he comes up on reality that doesn't even necessarily differ from his childhood memories, but
Mhm.
is but limits his own flexibility at reconstructing his memories. His impulse is to destroy it and allow him to
Mm.
just be creative with his own memories of the thing.
Gotcha. See, I had a different thought for motivation here. And so let me run this by you because my thought was that it is possible that he did legitimately believe that these ages were dangerous now. He was 8 at the time of the fall, let's remember. So if we go with the story that we witness in Book of Tiana as the real version, which I think would be fair at this point because
Mm-hmm.
that's the one that we see happen, right? And not the nonsense that he tells Atris in the first book. He would have known that people in all of those ages that they ran to for refuge did die. But how much
Mm-hmm.
would he have understood about why? He was 8, you know? Now I'm
Mm-hmm.
sure Anna could tell him some version of it later as well, but like, how much did he really understand? So even if he did understand the why, he can't possibly be sure that it's safe even decades later because how long does this pathogen live? How safe is it? Can you go in? He
Mm-hmm.
has no way of knowing this. He has no way to be sure. So my thought was that this is childhood trauma. This is that as much as he might want to copy and paste from these things, he does see them as legitimately dangerous because
Mm-hmm.
all he knows is that there was this massive traumatic event that happened when he was 8 years old, and people died in these. And he just does not have enough information to try or the therapy or the help to counteract the
Mm-hmm.
trauma of that, and that would be a legitimate reason for him to have destroyed the books. Not because they were dangerous, because they were unstably written, although that may be what he says because he also has a superiority complex where he wants to be better than everybody. But
Mm-hmm.
like, I could see him telling Atris that, but I think the real root reason might be they terrify him because he doesn't know if they could kill you if you go in.
It's so I think that interpretation depends heavily on a whether there's human immunity
But he
to
wouldn't
that.
know.
But and then B, whether he knew,
Yeah,
because
I think
it,
my interpretation depends heavily on the idea that he can't know or doesn't know a lot.
mhm. And yeah, so I think if that's true, then yes. So if that's the case, then yes, I think your interpretation makes a lot of sense. I have always assumed that humans are immune.
I
Gen's
mean, I've
half,
assumed that
Gen's
too.
human half is enough
Yeah.
for him to be immune, and
Yeah.
that magically everybody knew that immediately.
See, I don't I definitely assumed. And the thing that was interesting to me, honestly, in Book of Tiana was that they didn't emphasize it. Like it was obvious what they were doing, right? That they were
Mhm,
saving Gen and Anna because humans are immune, right? Like that felt
mhm,
obvious narratively. But at the same time, I expected them to hammer it in our brains that this is what happened, and they really didn't do that, and I was a little bit surprised by that. Maybe that's something that got edited out. I don't know, but the thing is, I don't think that he would have a way to know for sure that that's what. And the other thing is, I mean, if
mhm,
you think about Gen, right, he hates his mother and
mhm,
blames her for everything, right? So would he be willing to acknowledge that his human half could probably save him from this? Or would he be like, no, I'm Denise, so I would be in danger? You know? Because
mhm.
he rejects his human heritage.
Yeah,
So
and
and
that's
it's such a deep thing to him as a person to reject that, that I think even if he knew that humans were immune, he'd be like, well, I'm not, because I'm Denise.
mhm.
I just got
and
lucky before.
that's another good point. Yeah, um, that's another good point.
So, I mean, we can't know what his motivation would be to destroy the books, but um, I feel like
I
the
will.
most logical would be some sort of traumatic response to it. Because
Okay.
otherwise, I'm like, why wouldn't you keep them to copy from them, dude? Like, you copy everything else.
Hmm.
I don't
It's
know.
um, well, I will say this. There is more to come that will inform the question of um, biological illness and immunity to it and knowledge of those things.
Okay.
So I think that we can revisit this question
Okay.
once you've
Yeah.
seen that additional information.
Yeah. I mean, how much it would be realistic for Gen to know, I think, is highly questionable, regardless of whatever they put in later. I mean, I would like to
Mhm.
reemphasize that the man was 8 years old when it happened,
Yeah.
and I don't know how much. Because the thing is, I feel like regardless of what Anna might have told him later, um, that his impression of what happened at the time would supersede whatever he was told. That he would believe his own memory, however faulty it was, rather than believe his mother. So I don't know.
And of course, and of course, Book of Atris version of Gen
Hmm.
doesn't believe that there was a biological attack at all.
Right. It's all about the uprising of the lower classes, which
Yeah,
would have been an interesting story as well, not nearly as devious as what we got. I mean, I do still have to congratulate them on a truly devious plot. It was a
yeah,
truly cruel, truly awful plan that they came up with. Very, very dark. Um,
yeah,
so
yeah. That book definitely
impressed.
earns that book earns quite a few points in its closing little
Yeah,
segment there.
yeah. I just wish the rest of the book had been any, oh, I don't know, like a quarter as interesting as the last tenth of it. Um, their pacing leaves something to be desired,
Hmm.
but that has been true of all. Atreus has seen Gen burn his own books before. Maybe this is a case of his own trauma creating the worry. That also could be Spiper, except that we do have evidence even in this section that Gen did destroy books. Or somebody did. I mean, I guess that's the thing, is I guess we can't technically, or at least as of now, as far as I have read, we can't prove that it was him. It could have been anybody who was still there or had revisited Denis who destroyed the books. Possibly for the same traumatic reason. But yeah, I mean, Atreus has seen Gen burn books that he wrote. So, and the, you know, and that Atreus also worked on, and so he definitely, and that was and whatever. God, what was it? 37? Was that the name of that age? Something like that. The one that he burned. That was definitely a very traumatic moment for Atreus. So yeah, I mean, he would be more worried about it than somebody else would be, probably, regardless of how much basis there would be for it.
Yeah. And
I still want to know why he's. Sorry.
But Spiker's saying here that Atreus has seen Gen
burn
his own books before. Maybe
that's what I was talking about.
Case of his own. Oh, okay. Sorry, I missed
that. That's all right.
And yeah, I mean that is true.
It's a good point.
Some history of burning. Burning his own work product.
Yeah. So I mean, we know he's capable. Like, I definitely agree with Atreus that Gen is 100% capable. I just, if like trauma isn't the reason, I don't really know why he would, based on like everything else that he wants to accomplish. So I don't know. It's weird. The next little bit that I have is about the myths and legends of Denis. It's Atreus talking about my father's notes, because they've found some of his stuff in his study and everything at this point, and so he's looking at it. My father's notes on the myths and legend of Denis. Some of it is quite detailed. Other parts, like the mention of the Great King, are vague. From the notations at the back of the book, it seems that Gen trawled all kinds of sources. It's a regular hodgepodge of fact and rumor, but a lot of like these actual books would be. But a lot of it reads like old wives' tales. You know the kind of thing. Fireside tales invented to make children's eyes pop. Catherine was turning the pages, reading an entry here, an entry there. So why the interest in this great king? Because I've never heard mention of him before, and because he was supposed to have made various prophecies. And I'm like, literally, this has never been brought up before, right? Am I crazy? Do I just not remember?
So I'm going to make a confession here. I don't remember. I've forgotten this part of the story.
Oh, okay.
I don't remember I don't remember where this is going.
It doesn't go anywhere yet. I mean, this is pretty much it about it here.
No,
it's like,
yeah, but it's not, because if it's not Renaraf and it's not Karaf,
we don't get it. Yeah, we don't get them named in this part, and haven't at the end of the section. So
yeah,
I don't know.
So we're gonna have to. I'm along for the ride in terms of where this is going.
All right. Because I read it and I was like, what great king? Was there a great king? Did we ever have mention of a great king? Like, I'm very confused right now. And because they specify that it's not the guy the gate is named after. God, what's his name? With the K. Kraft. Yeah. So we know it's not him. They don't mention Renaref at all. Like, his name is not in this section. And he was never referred to, as far as I remember, as a king anyway. So I genuinely don't know who this is, and also prophecies feels weird for the Denis. I don't know. Like, they are not a prophecy kind of people, generally speaking. They're a precedent kind of people.
Yeah. So could I? First of all, Renaref. I mean, from Renaref does come the line of kings.
Right, but was he ever referred to as a king himself in the text that we've had so far?
Maybe not.
I don't think so. I could be wrong about that. I feel like he's only been mentioned by name.
Of course, when I'm thinking about these things, I think about the Hall of Kings, which isn't something that you recognize as existing. So,
I'm willing to be a little flexible for certain things in the lore that otherwise I don't recognize it because it's more of a
Mhm.
like blanket sort of this was handled poorly and I don't feel like it belongs here. But like small things like the Hall of Kings existing, I'm not opposed to
Mhm.
that existing. Like it's
Mhm.
more of a geographical issue than anything. But I don't know. But I don't think
So
this is like a retcon. It just feels like a weird like I had this just dissonance of the sort of feeling that you get when they do retcon something, except it
mhm.
doesn't really contradict anything. It just feels weird that they're adding this in now.
Yeah, it's one of it, it. It does feel like one of those somewhat sloppy expansion retcons where
Yeah. Yeah.
the new in the new episode of the show or the new book in the series, where everyone's talking about a topic that they had never talked about before, which is
Right.
it doesn't really it doesn't contradict
Yeah.
anything necessarily, but it's
Right.
just kind of weird that we're all.
But it's just like all of a sudden we've changed like we've brought the supernatural in for some like everybody's just cool with ghosts existing all of a sudden and we've never talked about them before. Like it
Mhm.
felt weird. It just I don't know.
Now, now
It
I
struck me as strange.
now okay, since we're now on the prophecy part,
Mhm.
um, if I could take a couple minutes, I think
Sure.
this is a hugely important moment in the
Okay.
series because heretofore we have had um, pretty much Dunny has been the Dunny civilization has seems to have had a pretty deistic theology, and one of the consequences of that is that there's well in real life one of the interesting aspects of deism is it tends to be a fairly disorganized theology. It
Mm.
almost never exists as a religion.
Mhm.
It sometimes exists as a heresy, but it's just kind of it tends not to congeal institutionally, and so we see
Yeah, I
that
mean they
up
don't
until
really seem to have
now.
had like churches, cathedrals, anything like
Yeah,
that. Like
yeah,
organized evidence of organized religion.
yes. It seems like the Denny you're right, heretofore have been depicted as not having as basically uh, not really having religion and having this general
Right.
deism, reinforced by the fact that it sort of seems like Anna was kind of a deist herself, and she's because she just sort of seamlessly kind of fits into that way of thinking. That she had there's
Yeah.
zero she undergoes zero theological tension with
Well, I
in the
don't
gathering.
yeah, I mean she my impression of her was that she just didn't have uh a religion or theological, like that she was brought up by her father, who I have
Mhm.
named John because they don't deign to give this
Yeah.
man a name in the book.
Mhm.
So she was raised by John, who was a scientist, right?
Mhm.
Um, and I feel like it just feels like he wouldn't have this wouldn't be an area he would be teaching her things. So
But
anything that she
she's
would have gotten might have been from her mother.
yeah, but I thought, isn't there a section toward the middle of the book of Tiana where she's sort of debating with Atris the First about theology, and he's a bit more on the atheistic side, but she's actually the one that's defending. She's the one that's defending the more conventional Dunny theology.
Would that have been like mixed in with their conversation about writing?
I think it's when they're doing their like topographical
Oh, when they're on
trips all around the new family age.
right, what's Gemidet is the name of their age. Yeah, I think
Uh,
yeah, but I think that is also a conversation about I think I remember what you're talking about, and I have to confess that I don't recall how much theology they talk about there because I was more interested in the creation versus linking discussion that was
mhm.
occurring sort of parallel to it. If I'm remembering correctly about where it is, I think that that is like their second discussion that they've ever had about linking versus creation, and that it is sort of in conjunction with their theological discussions. Now, I don't remember what side either of them took in that.
Hmm.
Um, but I think there was a little bit. I just don't remember. But none of them strike me as super religious people. I mean, we don't really see much about their
Right. Yeah. There is
beliefs.
no. Yeah. There is no. Um, there in the depictions so far, there is no religion, which
Yeah.
it, and that's something that I think that the authors get right. Is
Yeah.
in the real world that would be consistent with deism.
Yeah.
Um,
I think also that in terms of them getting it right about there not being an organized religion,
mhm.
that regardless of whether, they had any theological beliefs, it seems right for people who have the other beliefs that the Dini seem to have, where they're sort of a science forward culture.
Mhm.
It
Um,
feels like it tracks. Nothing feels wrong about there being a lack of organized religion. Like that I never
yeah.
questioned that as being a strange thing.
So,
God, what did I write
and so,
about this?
but this,
Funny.
and the significance of all of this going forward
Mhm.
is that, and I'm searching here for the passage. I may or may not be able to find it, but my recollection is that Anna, right, so Anna has this deistic theology. Dunny have this
Mhm.
deistic theology, and then out of nowhere comes this passage where we see our first reference to we see our this first reference to prophecy, and
Yeah.
prophecy has totally different social implications
Oh,
than
yeah, see, yeah, I
that.
think you're able to put into words better what felt wrong about it to me.
Mhm.
Because, yeah,
um,
it's not what I picture. I don't picture the culture that I saw
mhm.
accepting the idea of prophecy at all.
Yeah, no, prophecy requires prophets who have some
Yeah,
sort of social status. It also
right.
requires the recording of the prophecy in some format, which tends to generate scripture. And
Yeah.
we haven't seen any of that.
Nope.
However, people familiar with this series will know that I think it's this passage right here is the original sin that will give birth to a multitude of sins down the
Oh,
road.
no.
Um,
And here I was
right?
thinking that this was just gonna be a throwaway thing.
No, because I
Oh,
mean,
dear.
remember, um, by
Now
you know,
I feel
um,
dread now.
right? Because we have by the end of the series, and again, and this is part of what you
Spiper says the original sin can't argue.
yeah. Um, thank you, Spiper. Um, the uh, this is where for your purposes, Rodri, this is where uh, another example. This is now another instance of things that don't exist popping up in this
Mm,
book for you,
okay.
because um, I think a lot of why you reject the rest of the series is because it is so prophecy based, right? And we have
Yeah, it feels wrong.
yeah, because I mean, remember what's the first part of Path of the Shell?
I don't
You
know
go to the
because I've not
shelf.
read it, but or not
Right?
done it, but yeah, it's
Have you never played Path of the Shell at
no,
all?
I've never played Path of the Shell.
Oh wow. Okay.
What I've played,
So
you've literally seen what I've played of the series. You've literally seen it 1 through 4. That's all I've
wait,
played. I've
well, let
seen
me.
some of other people playing
Oh,
other
okay.
stuff. I just
Okay.
haven't done it myself because, like, once I saw what was there,
Yeah.
but I haven't seen
Well.
anybody do Path of the Shell. I've only seen 5 and some of Uru, but not all of Uru because it was big and I got tired of it. I gave up.
Hmm.
And same, I didn't watch all of 5 either because I was just like, oh, this is some BS.
Yeah.
And I did peace out part about halfway through, but um for both, or at least halfway
Yeah.
of the person I was watching who played it. I assume he finished 5 and got through whatever content was available of Uru because he was in on it after it was no longer
Hmm.
a live game. Um I mean, another reason that I haven't that I don't anticipate ever really doing a playthrough of Uru is apparently that one is particularly difficult to get running correctly on a modern computer, despite the updated things that they do in Steam and GOG. That it's apparently a little bit of
Mhm.
a problem, and I don't have the patience.
Oh, okay.
But if it just
Yeah,
straight up ran, I guess I could try it, but that doesn't mean I'm gonna believe the stuff in it.
yeah.
But yeah, from what I have seen,
We can
I
talk about
haven't
the
seen Path
technical
of the
issues,
Shell, but
so Path of the Shell starts with Onrelto going to the bookshelf and reading volumes of prophetic scripture.
yeah, that's not that. Yeah, no, rejected. That seems wrong.
It,
I
we're
know that
going to,
it's here in this book. Like there is precedent in something that I'm willing to acknowledge as canonical, but man, like why would they go and do that?
well, this is this is the first. I think this is the we're standing at the fork in the road of post Robin.
Yeah.
That this is Rand just going nuts. This is the beginning of Rand going
Yeah.
nuts because
No, no, no,
he will
no,
get
no. Rand was
more.
starting to go nuts in the last one. He just went more nuts now.
It's because by the end, it's almost nothing but prophecy, fulfillment of prophecy, disputes over who has fulfilled prophecy,
Oh my
the
god.
powers of people who have fulfilled prophecy. Um,
No wonder you were anticipating with great anticipation me getting through this book. You knew I was
yes,
going
yeah.
to
Well,
have
this is
problems.
this is one yeah this is one of the big moments in the book where we're seeing it, and we'll see
Robin,
how it
save
plays
me.
we'll see how it plays out for the rest of of
Mm.
this book. But down the road, I mean, the whole point of Myst 5, the whole point of Path of the Shell,
Wait, the point of Myst
is
5 isn't that Atris is cranky and old and sad? That's not the point?
well
Are you
that
sure?
that's definitely part of it. Um, uh, but this is where it starts.
I feel like
This is the gateway to madness right here.
great. I'm standing on the precipice of madness. Um,
Mhm.
and had no idea that I was. I have now seen the precipice, and it still is alarming because I can't see the bottom of it. I feel like this confirms to me something that I've thought for a while, though, about Rand. And I may be wrong. I don't know the man. I feel like he has within himself and his life struggles with religion and theology. And I feel like he takes it out on Myst.
Mhm.
I feel like that is the reason why we have this dissonance between all of the language about it sounding like creation for the ages, but then they very explicitly just say to you things that it isn't, that it's linking, despite like a lot of language pointing toward creation instead, even language used by the people who also, the characters who also say that it isn't that. I feel like
Mhm.
he has a problem with the idea of it being creation because it's like a theological issue for him. And he's just taking it out now. Now he's off the leash because now Robin's farther away from it. And he's just running with his own religious trauma, and we're all going to have to suffer for it.
I
It
don't.
feels like he is the source of the like he's got some sort of issue that he's trying to work out, and I don't know that he ever manages, but I feel like it's his thing.
Well, I think it's really significant that it was at a Mysterium. Um, I want to say it was the Mysterium that was so maybe 2017 Mysterium, the one where Robin attended
Was it
to
the
do.
only one he attended?
Um, yeah, actually, I think that probably is the last one he attended. No. Well, he's attended one other since then, but
Mm.
yeah, he's not
I mean, he's
a
pretty
frequent attendee.
distant from it at this point. Has
Um,
been for a while.
yeah, no, I think, yeah, I think when my guess is for last Mysterium, if he did think about going, he probably saw that the logo was the Locky-on piranha chicken and said nope. And waited for another year. But he did attend for purposes of doing promotion of Abduction. So that would have been
Mm,
right around
okay.
2017. And so he and Rand did a joint Q&A. And I think it was at that joint Q&A that they got the question, who's your favorite Myst character?
Mm.
And do you want to guess who each of them said?
For Robin, I legitimately don't know. Because he's to me, because my honestly my for Spiper and anybody else who's listening, who doesn't know, sort of my history with things, I haven't watched or been to any Mysterium. I've pretty much stayed out of e-
Mhm.
external information for the most part. And that's been on purpose because I want to have experienced these things with only my own thoughts first. So until we're done with this book, I'm not going to be looking at external things. So my experience of these people is through their art, right?
Mhm.
And so I've gotten a lot more experience with Rand, much to my own frustration many times. Although again, we don't know how much we need to blame on David. He takes a lot of blame for the writing, but Rand takes a lot of
Mhm.
blame for the content.
Mhm.
Um, so I don't feel like I know Robin the same way because I haven't experienced, and I haven't experienced. I don't think there's been anything really where it's been in a Randless vacuum that I've experienced anything of Robin. So I don't feel like I have enough information about him to know who his favorite character would be, but I would guess it would be absolutely nobody beyond um Riven.
Mhm. So yeah, so his answer was Gan, which
Interesting. That's
is a
interesting.
pretty conventional
Is that a conventional
answer.
answer? Is he popular? Would he be
Robin?
a lot of people's favorite?
Oh, Gan?
Yeah.
I, I, I mean, Gan's in my top three characters.
Huh.
Yeah, I think Gan's a great character.
I think he's a great I think at the at the core he's a great character. Do they
Mhm.
utilize him well? No. Gen doesn't get to be as interesting as he could be. That's the thing. I mean, even in Book of
Okay.
Tiana, like they skipped huge sections of stuff where his development as a child would have been really interesting, but they don't talk about it. It's just like all of a sudden he's fine in school now and we don't talk about it. Like
Mhm. Yes,
we don't get to see
and
any of that.
we have talked about it. It is disappointing that they skipped that
Yeah.
part.
They skipped that. They skip all of the, like him finding the love of his life, about Atris being born, really. I mean, we do see like the immediate aftermath in Book of Atris, but there's a lot of stuff about him and like how messed up he was and how he got that way that we don't see and would be
Mhm.
fascinating to see. And I imagine that there are some absolutely astonishingly amazing fan works that fill in these blanks that I haven't seen because, again, I've tried to keep myself away from things that aren't the original
Mhm.
texts, essentially, and my own thoughts so that I can come to it with a clean slate, and have only my own thoughts about it. But, um, so would he be like conceptually, he would probably be in my top three
Mhm.
because he could be very interesting. If I'm going only on what we have in text in canon, I don't
Mhm.
know, he'd be in the top 5 probably, but he's not making top 3 at that point because they didn't do it. They didn't go there. They didn't get enough out of it to be as cool as it could have been. But that's true of
Okay.
every character that they've written, so not every character has the potential that he has to be interesting, but every character is done wrong by the writing. None of them get to be as cool as they could be.
Mm. But
So
but then here's the real question is then
who's
why?
Rand's favorite?
Yeah, who did Rand pick?
See, I would immediately go Atris because he plays him, and so I feel like he would be connected to him.
That's a good point. But
I,
no,
I I'm not going to be shocked if he picks somebody else though.
he picked Yisha,
You've got to be kidding me.
and and this is where,
Why?
yeah,
Justify yourself,
because
Rand.
so Yisha is, I mean, she's an infant for a while, and she's fine in this
Wait,
form.
is
I don't
it
have a problem
because
with her at all.
she's magic? Is that why?
Yes, yes, yes. And this is where this is he this is a window into the mind of Rand, I think, because
Yeah.
he when he's asked what's your favorite character in all of Mist, he goes
Mm-hmm.
to this one, um, in my opinion, aggressively sucky character.
Spiper.
Um,
Agreed. Spiper has given us a
um,
lovely emote to go with the feeling of finding this out.
and it's and I think what we're seeing is, well, I think what we see there is a window into Rand's mind that that what he really cared about in the final years was this one pretty bad little sub part of the Mist story, and he cultivated that until,
No kidding.
because by the end of by 2005, it's Yisha all the time.
Yep.
Let's focus on Isha, and it all sucks. It just the story is
Yep.
terrible, and it's all about Isha, and
Man, it really
where we
like
end up.
it wraps up so nice in Myst 4. That was such an ending
Well, not
for
well.
the series. And then it's like, well, now we got to write about Yisha because we can't write about anybody else in the family. So, like, that's how I interpreted it. But I guess he just likes writing bad things a lot.
Yeah,
Surprise.
I don't think I can agree that Mist 4 was a great wrap up, because I mean we
Okay,
still
was
have
it
a
overall
girl.
great? No, but like it did end things. It felt like it felt like an ending. I've thought of Yisha as the Wesley Crusher of Myst sometimes, and this isn't helping.
Yeah,
You know
yeah,
what?
that's
I wouldn't have made that connection, Spiper, but now that you've said it, you're not wrong.
yeah, I hadn't thought about that either,
I
but
like
yes,
Wesley better.
but yeah, I mean, this is first season, the Traveler or whatever.
Oh
Oh,
god,
even
yeah.
it's actually that's true, because
It's
Spiker,
it's
you're correct.
so right, Spiper. You're so right.
It's you have that, you even have that parallel between the, like, sort of abstract mystical
Yeah.
name with the right before it.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
So right, you have the grower and you have the traveler, and oh gosh, yeah, that's a very good
And
point.
a child who's like marked as like special by people
Mm,
outside of their like family unit.
yeah,
100%. She's Wesley, but not like any of the good parts of Wesley. Like Wesley
and
has redeeming moments, okay, but not I don't know. Yisha, when she's driving you into Tamana, that is like the only okay Yisha that happens. Not that you
I
get a
actually,
lot of her in 4, but
this is going to be Star Trek spoilers. I hope no one minds, but
you
my
know what?
understanding. So I've not.
It's
I
old enough. I feel like if you
Well,
don't know
this is
by
actually.
now,
I mean, this is actually new. Is my
oh
understanding?
no,
I've never watched anything. I've never watched any show that's post 2005. But I'm told, and I think I saw a clip of it, that in one of the
mm-hmm,
most recent shows,
mm-hmm.
they bring back, um, um, what's the actor's name? Anyway, they bring back Wesley, and he sort of,
Um,
appears from heaven. Not appear. He sort. There's this sort of post. There's He comes back as a cameo, and when he comes back, he sort of appears.
Will Wheaton.
And
Sorry, it
Will
just like
Wheaton.
all of a sudden popped into my head.
That's right. Yeah, that's
I
right.
was about to look it up, and I had my fingers on the keyboard, and I was like, "That's stupid. It's Will Wheaton. I know who it is."
Yeah, that's right. That's right. Will Wheaton or
Yeah.
Will Wheaton
Will
as
Wheaton. Yeah, exactly.
um, but he sort of appears as this cameo, as this sort of supernatural being who gives wisdom or
Hmm.
something to one of the new main characters in one of those
Wow.
shows.
Yeah, I didn't
Uh,
know that. I
so
would believe
so
it,
yes,
but
so so Spiker's quite right about that.
Spiker's very right.
Um,
That's so
but anyway,
funny.
so all of that was to say that we that that the beginning of all of that is this one sentence here in this passage.
Man, do I wish that that were one of the changes in the 2025 version, but if anything, they would have added more. Because
Yes,
who's
yeah,
in control of
absolutely.
it? Rand.
Absolutely. Any changes that we find for 2025, there will be even more.
He's not endearing himself to me more in this book. Here's the thing. I respect him and what he's done. That's different from liking what he's done. I respect what he's accomplished in his career.
Mm-hmm.
I like Myst 1 through 4. I love the first two, but
Mm-hmm.
I like what I know about him less and less the longer I read these books. And I don't expect that to change at this point, knowing that that's what I'm going to be walking into.
Mm-hmm.
Because it's just like, wait, it's we've sort of talked about like how uh there's a certain amount of parallel to George Lucas here with what he likes to do
Yes.
with his creations. And
Yeah.
it feels like it's in a similar situation of nobody told him no, and they really should have. Somebody should have been like, this doesn't feel like Myst, Rand.
Mm-hmm.
We maybe need to cut back on the prophecy nonsense. Like, somebody should have said it, but nobody said it, and so they just let him go crazy. Like, maybe don't let people go buck wild all the time just because they create it. Like, somebody needs to step in and be like, this is a bad idea.
Mm-hmm.
Even if they're not the person who create, like, somebody saw that this wasn't the same. Somebody saw that it didn't feel right. And
Yeah.
5 came out and this came out, and like nobody said no. They need people to say, people like that need people to say no to them, and it's a
Mm-hmm.
shame there weren't any, apparently. Robin, dear
Yeah.
God, I'm
Yeah.
so sorry that this is what you're living with in your family, but
I guess Robin was the no person.
yeah, apparently. It honestly, it makes me feel even more like Robin might be semicolon guy.
Mm-hmm.
I'm feeling it. I'm feeling it. If Robin rescued us from this, Robin might have been semicolon guy. I don't know. We need to get like a sample of Robin's writing and see if he uses semicolons on the regular.
Well, hey, maybe we can. Maybe at some point we can cover the vampire film.
I was literally just thinking about that and being like, where can I get the vampire film? Because I was thinking about that because I would be fascinated to see that. It's probably not good, but I don't care. I would be interested to see it. It would be my first experience of like Robin in a vacuum that is not Rand. I mean, it's not Myst, but like at least I would get to see like what kind of person he is creatively
Yeah.
outside of this.
And because, in fairness to him, the bulk of his career, as I understand it, is expressed through not through words but through music,
Hmm.
like non-lyrical music,
I
right?
can
So
respect that. I can respect that for sure. Did he write the music for Myst, like the background stuff?
yeah, he did all of the Myst One music.
Nice. I have composed us an intro for the videos, by the way, musically, that I feel like sounds Myst-ish. I mean, back
So
to
I
the book for time.
well,
Yeah,
and thank you
this
for
so this
creating
is.
that. That sounds great.
I hope it is.
So I have a list of I have a list of points to
Okay, sure.
we haven't covered, but if you had, do you still have more of your
Yeah, I
notes?
mean, I had more things. Brief
Oh, yeah,
mention
keep going.
here
Yeah, keep
that
going.
there was it. I had a perspective shift in my head of how I have to picture things in Denis, which is Marm mentions the idea of like being used to shadows falling downward because you're in a world with sun, and how in the cavern the light is coming from like the algae or whatever in the lake, and so it's like
Mhm.
going up. I never
Mhm.
pictured that in my brain, like everything being underlit, but it's accurate. I mean, that's what we've been told.
Mhm.
I just literally hadn't been picturing that. I don't know why.
Mhm.
Um I here was another thing, like in talking about the fall, um it, and hearing Atris tell essentially the entire book of Tiana apparently to Marum in like 5 minutes, which I
Mhm.
found very funny. She says Viovis and his ally Agaris, and I'm like, so is that the version that we're going with? It's not the other way around? Because like the mastermind behind everything wasn't Viovis, it was Agaris. So I felt like the ally part was weird. I feel like we're still putting a lot of blame on the transcendently asinine guy. And while he is indeed transcendently asinine, he wasn't the mastermind.
Mhm. So yeah,
um, I just
I mean,
found it weird.
from here on out, and we see this in Real Mist 2000 when they put in when they add Vievis Niguris to Mist 1.
Did they?
It
It
pretty
wasn't in the
much
masterpiece edition that I did.
uh,
Or if it was, I didn't notice.
Real Mist Masterpiece. Yeah, they're there in the Real Mist Masterpiece edition.
I guess
It's
since I didn't have
it's a
context, I just wouldn't have known. But,
um,
huh.
but from here on out, they're pretty much kind of just treated as a pair. The whole inner relationship between them is kind of gone, and part of that is because
Weird.
we don't. I mean, these people don't know some of that,
I mean, yeah,
right?
true enough. They don't. And I don't know
Anna,
how much Anna would have said, but
mhm. Yes, it's sort of a, and I mean Anna can speculate, and also I mean since we've and as we've talked about, yeah, if Vivus was so transcendently asinine that it's hard to even his
yeah.
characterization is so bad that it's you can't like other characters observing from the outside. It's hard to even have
How
them
many
have a
times did
reaction.
I just how many times did I just stop to be like, what is his motivation? What is he doing? Like, because I never
Mhm.
understood him as a character for
Yeah.
98% of the book, because like you're seeing what he's doing and it's like he's over here, he's over there, he's like working on different motivations all the time, but like he's xenophobic no matter what. I mean, whatever. And it's like you don't have enough information about what's going on in his
Mhm.
head to know like why he does what he does. And I think that's just kind of true all the way to the end, and that I have only got just enough information to make some assumptions of my own about why he might have done what
Mhm.
he did. Much less like, I mean, of anybody who could have told the story to anyone, Anna knows the most about Agaris being the most guilty. But that doesn't mean that that got passed through the great game of telephone here that we've played.
Right.
Um, but yeah, I have a note here about like, did he literally tell her the entire book of Tiana while hanging out in the square in Denis? How many days were they sitting there?
Mhm.
Um, because yeah, it feels like Marm all of a sudden has all of the information that we have from the book, and it's like 600 pages. How long do they? I don't know. Anyway,
Well, I
um,
think I think that the apprentices have been being taught this history during those
that
4 years.
wasn't the impression that I got in this scene, because she asks some question that prompts him. In fact, it says right here, I have a quote that will support me. It says,
Okay. Okay.
Atris had never spoken to them of this. And listening to the tale, a tale Atris's grandmother had first told him long after the event, Marum found her imagination waking so that she could almost see the dark clouds slowly fill the cavern. And afterward, Viovis and his ally Agaris, as they walked through the stricken alleyways of Denis, their cart of death pushed before them. It literally starts with Atris had never spoken to them of this. So he just straight up tells her the entire book there.
Oh. Yeah, that's a good point. Yeah.
like, that's so much information for them just standing in a square somewhere. Like, wow, he really must have summarized that. Then
Mhm.
there's another whole quote that I pulled out mostly just because it was like, um, why are we searching the lower city when you know that the books won't be there? And a quote about like Atris talking about uh the Dini were highly literate, but few could write ages. That was something the guilds taught. One would have needed to be a guildsman to do that. And I'm like, Atris, hi. Would you like to explain to me why you're called Master Atris then? You
Mhm.
didn't learn from a guild, did you? Yeah, and he's talking about like old books that have maintainers inspection stamps, but like, they can't be healthy ages. I'm like, dude, they have an inspection stamp. I don't know what else you want.
Mhm.
They're probably fine. That was all the quotes that I had, really. That was the content of them. So your list, what is your bullet point list of
So here
facts?
I have found. Um, so this is the appearance of Vieva Zenigaris in
Mm.
um, Real Myst. Um,
Yeah,
is
did I just
interest
miss it or did
says
I ignore it because there was no context for me?
uh, interest says I have seen the city in its worst condition, and still its beauty overwhelmed me. Even now, as I visualize how majestic it must have been before the destruction caused by Vievis and Agaris, it amazes and saddens me.
Yeah, I just
So they're
just
just kind of
tuned
a
it out,
pair.
I think. Yeah, because I wouldn't have had context for that because I hadn't read Tiana at that point, so I wouldn't have known.
Yeah.
Um, but way to add things in again. Oh,
So
let's just George Lucas this whole thing. Huh?
let's see. So you said you're done
Yeah, I mean,
with your
I've
notes.
briefly gone over what like that was the content.
Okay.
Like I could read the quotes,
Um,
but that's the content.
let's see. So what I have is oh, okay. So this is where, because we talked about in the book of Tiana, we were talking about what the population is, and I said, well, this
Mm.
book is going to tell us it's over 1 million in the
Yeah, I did
cavern.
notice that. I did notice that. I thought that was potentially okay. It's not likely in my mind, but
You were
it's
much more negative about it at the time.
potentially okay. Yeah. Here's the thing. I don't know how big the place is. I am negative about how big the cavern is, but here's because there is no cavern like that anywhere near
Hmm.
that size in reality in our
Hmm.
world. And if this is supposed to be in Earth, there's no place like this. It's too big. But if I
Wait,
accept the size of it,
so do we know that?
I looked up the largest caves in the world when I was doing
But are those the
Tiana.
largest known caves, or
Okay, fine.
it's
Maybe we don't technically. Maybe we haven't maybe we haven't found one that's bigger, but I
no? But I
find
mean,
it unlikely that we wouldn't have found something close if it was something that could exist. I just
is there? I mean, you're the resident geologist here. Is there is there a geological principle that would prevent
I I don't know.
bubbles
My
in the earth
thought,
beyond a certain size?
my thought is not so much could it form. My thought is could it hold up?
Hmm.
Because I think just you're looking at a thing where like at it when it reaches a certain size, it's not going to be stable enough to withstand like any tectonic shifts or anything. Like
Hmm.
your first earthquake, the thing will just cave in, kind of deal. Like I don't know that there's anything preventing it from forming. I just don't know that it would last all that long. Um, just structurally. Now, if we accept that they have reinforced parts of the cave with Nara, for example, then there's no
Hmm.
reason that it couldn't be that big in this fiction. Um,
Hmm.
but in order to accept that 1 million people could be there, I have to first accept that the cavern is larger than would be reasonable. And so I have done that at this point. I've given in. Whatever. You're going to insist the cavern is big. Rand, fine. Um, so I'm already they've beaten me down at this point. So if I accept the cavern is as large as they want it to be, 1,000,000 people is still too many, but it's not as insane as it could be. I mean, the thing is, I'm picturing the density of population being crazy in the lower city,
Mm-hmm.
right? Like it's a slum, is what I'm picturing. Rhyme as a whole, love it for the age itself, but the crystal viewer being able to view Riven contradicts us only being able to signal age just by opening the Starfisher. Let's not worry about contradictions because that's Rand's job is to create contradictions, apparently, in his own lore.
No,
But does
well,
it though?
if I could comment on that briefly, no,
Yeah.
I think that no, I think it's the opposite because in in Riven, there we get introduced to the idea that um, that Atris has an ability to monitor an age
Yeah.
other than through a linking panel, which and that goes totally unexplained until Real Mist when he's when they introduce the crystal viewer. So my the way I view it, perceive it, is while we're playing Riven, he is on Rhyme, just watching the crystal viewer, waiting for the sky to change color and the whole atmosphere to collapse. Because through the crystal viewer, he has to see something huge. He has to see something environmentally huge, and that is the way in which he knows how to come in.
I have another
So,
thought, which is all of the things you just said, Everett, but let's remember who we're talking about. We're talking about Atris. It needs
mhm.
to be a huge signal because this man is going to have his nose approximately 10 inches away from his book writing about it until the last possible second. It needs to be a cataclysmic signal, or he's not going to notice that anything's happening on the crystal viewer because he's not paying attention. So, like, if you were just like standing where it can see and waving, he don't care. He's not going to see it. It has to be like
Mhm.
massive so that he like sees something flash out of the corner of his eye and he's like, "Oh, there we go." Welcome, Azrael, by the way. Um,
Mhm.
I think it doesn't necessarily contradict
Sure.
it, but it maybe only reinforces that Atris will be more involved in his work than in watching for us.
That makes sense, and it might make more sense in like Flubber than in Mist, but fair enough.
I mean, have you seen the guy? Anyway, to your next points,
Yeah. So
Everett.
and I while we were talking, I did look up because you previously you complained a lot about population density in the
Yeah,
real population density,
yeah.
and I
I
did
still
look up
don't think
here,
it's
and it
reasonable, but I'm just gonna have to let it go. Like I said, they've beaten me down at this point.
so based on the fold out map,
Mhm.
my estimate is that the cavern, not factoring in curvature right of the walls, which we'll get to
Mhm.
in a second, but if we're just factoring in just flat square, right, square mileage, it
Right.
seems to me that the cavern is approximately 5 square miles from my
Mhm.
guessing from the fold out map and a few comments in the text. So that would put, so if we compare that to New York City, from what I'm looking
Mhm.
at,
Yeah, I know I pulled up
that
some cities before. Yeah,
it's
I
yeah,
just don't remember
it's
this.
about 1/8 the
Mhm.
population of New York City in about 1/60th of the area.
Yeah.
And
I
I certainly agree that that's a problem. And
yeah.
actually, sorry, and that's not even, and I'm counting water, which is most of the
Right.
caverns. I'm
Yeah,
not
that's a
counting in New York.
huge
I'm not
problem with
counting
it.
water in New York City.
Yeah.
So, but
I,
here's the thing that also is stood out to me with this
mhm.
passage, and this is where I said that the urban planning confuses me, is that Marm says she says that there are buildings climbing the cavern's massive walls.
Yeah, but they said that in Tiana. We knew
Did
that.
they?
Yeah.
Okay,
I've always
so
pictured it this way. I think he even said
okay,
in Book of Atris when they get there, he talks about how like
uh,
the walls are like covered with the buildings.
okay. see, the thing is that because in Tiana, they never.
They never
I
go
don't.
up. They never
But they,
ascend.
but,
I know.
no, but they're always on Agira, right?
Uh,
I
I
mean,
don't
other
know.
than I guess they're on Kavir a couple of times,
Yeah.
but
I mean,
but
we don't
they're
know where the council stuff is or where the guild house is.
all that's on Agira, right? I mean, my point is, we never go to the bank, right? Into the
No,
movie
we
of
never go
town,
to
we
the
never.
bank. We never, yeah.
Okay, so okay, I guess it's just that there's a ton of population living on the bank.
Hmm.
But see, the way I had pictured it a couple of years ago, before your commentaries, was that there's most of the population lives on the bank, and
Hmm.
then Agira is sort of it's the capital, and it's also the sort of upper class elite area.
Yeah.
And then since Anna, is assigned to an elite
So,
household,
yeah,
obviously she spends most of her time there. But
right.
so, so you're okay with there being a lot of population on the bank?
So here's what I was picturing. Now, a
Mm-hmm.
million is still too many. There's no question about that. I did see that passage. I had a moment of feeling very irritated, and then I decided
Mm-hmm.
not to quote it out and talk about it because I was like, well, we've been here, we've done this. I've probably beaten this
Mm-hmm.
into the ground already, so I just won't anymore. This is what I mean. They've worn me down at this point. Like, Rand and David have done the impossible. They've worn me down. Um,
Mm-hmm.
so it's still too many people, but what I was picturing is like the lower city is where a huge, because we're talking like 1% and 99% kind of issue here, right? Like you have the
Uh-huh.
upper city, and that is the upper class. That is the guilds. That is, the upper crust of everybody. Clearly the population density is not crazy there, right? Like that's like the suburbs essentially. Now, if you're going through the lower city, now Anna goes through the lower city briefly when
Mm-hmm.
she's being brought from her like prison cell to the council, right? And it sounds like people are practically stacked on top of each other to watch her go by. Now, this could be because this is a big event. However, I think it's just because what I'm picturing in my head is like the most crowded parts of Victorian London, right? Like
Mm-hmm.
everybody's on top of each other, but like not quite in a skyscraper kind of way, in like a really crowded, not super tall building kind of way, because like it doesn't really spread it out if you're just stacking them up on the, I mean, it's essentially like a skyscraper at that point. You're just like stacking things up the wall. Um
Mm-hmm.
I wasn't ever really picturing the upper class areas going up the wall much, because that would be for the peons to be dealing with, climbing up to their
Yeah, I don't
houses,
think there's
right?
any. Yeah, I think it's pretty clear there's no guild. Nothing of a lot of importance is outside of Agira.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. Or at least certainly important to our story, because we're seeing it only from upper class people's
Right.
perspectives.
Yeah.
Um,
Politically.
yeah, politically, socioeconomically, the big important stuff is all there.
Yeah.
Um, so I was picturing just a severe difference in population density between the two. Again, would a million people fit there? I do not believe so at all. But
Mm-hmm.
would would that area be so crowded that the lower city would feel like there were a million people? Yeah, probably. They're probably pretty much living on top of each other's heads. Um, and I don't think the upper class people cared. They didn't have to see it, so they
Mm-hmm.
don't care. Um, so that was what I was picturing, was that the walls of the cavern are like the realm of the poor, because the
Mm-hmm.
upper class people, they're not going to make they're not going to make the five hike up a ladder to their house.
Yeah.
Like that's not happening, you know. I think maybe we also have to take into consideration that a certain percent of the population is probably working in ages at any
Mm-hmm.
given moment. Um that still doesn't really account for there being a million people, I don't think, but you know,
Yeah. I think I think your original criticism of the density is correct.
yeah.
No matter how much you
I've
build
just
up. walls. I don't
Yeah,
think that you can
no,
get.
a million people aren't fitting there. That's for sure. I'm just they've worn me out. I have no more arguments for it except, yeah, I know they don't fit there.
Yeah. And in fairness, right, this is it. This is new. The million numbers coming from here, right?
Yeah,
This
yeah.
is totally new to
It was
this book.
sort of things were implied before, but I don't think we had a number like that to argue.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's all ridiculous.
Mm-hmm.
But here's the other thing: is like I did dismiss it to a certain extent because it's kind of like, what does Atris know? He didn't know anything.
Mm-hmm.
He could be like he could be off by 750,000. He wouldn't know. So unreliable narration there. So it wasn't quite as irritating as it
Anna
sometimes
would
is.
have known.
Yeah, but would he know? Would he have interpreted everything correctly? I mean, I don't know.
I mean, yeah, that's true. He could be misremembering that. And
Yeah.
let me put it this way: the Dunny being who they are, I'm sure they did a census. I'm sure they had
Oh,
good
100%.
numbers.
Yeah, they knew.
Yeah.
Yeah, they could find this information. It's probably still sitting around in a book somewhere. Like,
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
why would anybody taking over the city worry about the census volumes?
Mm-hmm.
So I'm sure it's somewhere.
Yeah. And
But I don't know if he knows.
yeah, and here, audience, let me ask you this quick question: would you ever want to watch Rodri go visit the bank and play soccer with a beach ball?
Oh my god.
Because that's a thing that he will get to do if he ever plays the whole series.
Please say no.
um, all right, so moving on. Um, so 30, yeah, so Atris has 30 apprentices. That was not at all clear from
Yeah. No,
the
it really
previous story.
wasn't.
I'd forgotten it was that many, and that's going to make
Yeah.
sense for
Yeah.
uh, for for reasons that Spiper is laughing. Um,
Yeah.
for I mean, it makes sense in the context of the rest of the book, but I just want to note that it's now specifically established that he
Mm,
has 30, 30 maybe plus or minus a couple, depending
right.
on how you count, apprentices, um, which is consistent with that larger population size for the
Yeah.
Averones
Yeah.
village, because
It
that's a
just
lot
felt
of
so
teenagers.
weird. It was like hundreds? What? Like I thought we had like 3 families here. Like this, I don't know what we're talking about.
Yeah, but yeah, you to get that to get 30 teenagers, you're going to have a
Yeah, you're gonna
yeah,
have to have a larger population. Yeah,
larger
100%.
population. Um, okay, there's the reference to huge pits caused by the fall,
Right.
and I just want
Which
to
is
reiterate my previous complaint. I think that's even worse. I don't think we heard anything that bad
no,
in
we
the
really
book of
didn't. We
Hannah,
really didn't.
and I just
No.
I just want to reiterate because now these new apprentices don't seem to be interested because none of them say, "What? How did this happen?" I mean, they're told the
No.
story of the fall, but the reaction
Yeah.
is not, "Yeah, but how did it happen?" Again, there's only two forces that I can think of in this story that could cause something this huge. One would be
Mm,
micro art, and the other is a
mm.
nuclear bomb. And the
I
story
think
is
the
not giving
implication
us.
is they're not right, I don't think.
Mhm.
I mean, the thing is, do you remember when it started? Like before the smoke came through, when the crack appeared in the wall where the smoke came out.
Mhm.
Um, there was a lot of rumbling, like what I think they're trying to imply feels at least like seismic activity. We don't actually still
Right,
to this day know what caused that.
right. That's my
So
point. I'm
it's
just
possible
reiterating
that
my
some bomb went
previous
off
complaint.
and that's what caused it and that also caused the pits. But yeah, no, they don't tell us. It's not in the text.
Um,
We don't know.
yeah. So
But
anyway, I'm just pointing that
yeah.
out again. That they're doubling down on it, so I'll double down on my
Yep.
complaint. Um,
They've doubled down on not giving us information but referring to the event. Yes.
yeah.
Pretty typical.
Um, and then I think my last point is they found 34 books so far, so there is
Yep.
some stuff in the lower city
Yeah,
apparently.
yeah, there's some
Um,
stuff which Atris
and
is
those might need to
dismissing
be
as
helped.
old and not interesting, despite
Yeah, and
having
that's my
maintainer
last.
stamps.
That's my last point. Is that he refers to having wanting quote new, more
Mhm.
healthy ages
Yes.
close quote,
Yep.
and I think that
I
is.
quoted that out too.
I'm not sure what to make of that.
I don't either. I really don't know. It just sounds absolutely bonkers to me. Like,
Yeah, it's
did we not just establish that, like he literally tells Katran, like, a couple of scenes
mm,
ago that Gen is wrong, that the ages that any surviving ages
yeah,
after the fall would be fine because the guilds checked them, right? They were designed to be stable in the first place, and then the maintainers check them. And so he has
mm,
these books that literally they tell us have the maintainer's stamp in it. The maintainers checked it.
yeah,
This car has been inspected, guys. It has passed. You're allowed to drive it. And like he still goes, "Nah, they old though. I don't really want them." And it's like, "But why,
yeah,
Atris? Are you smoking frogs? Like
yeah. I
what?"
yeah, I think we're. I'll be curious if there's any more references to this because I don't know.
Yeah.
He's describing ages like they're fruit.
Yeah, yeah, it's
It's
like, "No, this banana has gone brown. I do not want it anymore."
and and it could be that this is, and I think I'm because of what book it is I'm reading.
Mhm.
I'm probably giving him too much credit, but it's possible that what we're seeing is him seeing this through the lens of Riven and this
Hmm.
idea, and having spent on the other ages he's lived on other than his own, seeing the Gens, and this idea that Gens were prone to being in a state of decay,
Right.
and
Like
so
just this
when you
constant
yeah
entropy
that
sort of
it's
thing.
that yeah that because if you're only visiting places that are in the process of falling apart,
Right,
then
which he
yes,
really
I guess
only has.
yeah, then I guess you could say, oh well, if this age, if this was written, 50 years ago or a
Yeah.
thousand years ago, then yeah, maybe the planet fell
But
apart
it's
during that
weird to me. It's weird to me that if that's like that's completely understandable psychologically that he might feel that way that because that's his experience. But what's weird is that they've gone to the trouble of specifically having him say verbally that he
time.
understands this isn't the case, and then them describing to us that the books he is dismissing have maintainer stamps in them. Like, they specifically tell us that he knows, intellectually at least, he knows that that idea is wrong, that all of
Mm,
these should be fine, especially if the maintainers have checked it. So, like, yes, I can 100% understand why he would feel like old ages would have gone bad, except that they've gone to this trouble of telling us right before and like during that scene that he knows this isn't true, that it was only
yeah,
true for his father's ages. So, like, why tell us this at the same time that they're like, I could understand it as a character thing, sure. Like that would
mhm,
actually be kind of, some character depth where it's like I'm struggling to get it through my own head that it would be fine to visit an old age because,
yeah,
well, my father didn't design them properly and so I've only been to ones that rotted, so this is going to be hard for me to go visit it. Like doing that would be one thing. What they're doing here
yeah.
is not giving him that character development, but just telling us that he's stupid.
Yeah, I'm. It's weird, and and he by this point he is a master at this stuff, right? He is good at writing,
Okay, he's
and I
good
don't.
at it, but I wouldn't call him a master. He hasn't learned anything correctly.
Well, uh, he setting aside the title of master,
Right.
he's good at what he
He
has a
has
mastery.
mastery of
Yeah,
it to some extent.
but I don't think when he was on Channelwood, he was standing there saying, "Gee, I wonder if, or we should probably plan on the crust of this planet just imploding in the next 50 years." Like, I think he knows that that's not how planets
Right.
work.
Right. Or at least they're not supposed to work that way again. Um, but
And Spiker, yeah, you are correct when you say that the return
books
linking
being
books are
damaged, yeah.
damaged or lost. Yeah, and I think there is a passage here. I think there is a passage in here in which he does specifically tell Marum that one of the reasons that is delaying them is they need paper to
Right.
write write return linking books for every age that they're going to visit.
Which
So yes,
literally just brings me back to, why did you start in the lower city? Like, go to the paper works, go to the ink works, go get your stuff. Like, I kind of assume that there's like an industrial district that's like more accessible to the upper class, but is like maybe closer to the lower class areas, because they wouldn't want the ink works like right in the middle of their nice neighborhoods. But
yeah,
like, you know, and I'm sure that there would be menial labor that they would require the lower class people for in some of these places. Um, but you know, like, go there. They're not anywhere near the stuff that, like, where the largest amounts of the stuff they actually want would be.
yeah,
And he,
and
the thing is, he knows that.
yeah, but
And that's
yeah,
what's wild to me.
but also
Oh,
so then the other I'm sorry, there's one in my notes I missed here,
okay, okay,
and
yeah.
that is, and this is actually a nice, subtle thing, is that right there is that I think we're supposed to think that Circe and Akinar's burning of the books on this island, it cut
Mm-hmm.
off Atris's access to paper and ink
Mm,
because he's clearly out of it. And one nice way that they show it what is there's the mention that there's a team that's shuttling back and forth
right.
um, uh, between Kavir and Agira.
Uh-huh.
Catherine's in charge of like the boat shuttle.
Right. The boats, yeah.
Yeah, that is only necessary if you can't write a linking book to Agira
True.
from
Now, I'm
Chromagana
going to
and
say that there's a problem with this being true, though. And that's Riven, specifically. He's writing during that time. Like, when we start Riven, we interrupt him, right? He has ink.
mm-hmm.
And I mean, yes, he's writing in an established book, so he doesn't have like fresh paper, but like, he doesn't seem to be hurting for materials then, right?
Well, I think
And that's
maybe we're
post
supposed to,
burning.
yeah, there's some supply. Maybe there's some supply that he still has, but
Yeah.
like he had a stock, but his
But now
ability
it's
to
out.
replenish has been
Yeah.
cut off.
Yeah. I guess that would make sense. I hadn't really noticed, to be honest. I mean, you're not wrong. I just hadn't really, it didn't strike me. Maybe I was busy deciding that I didn't need to bother everybody with the million people thing at the time. I don't know. But it just
I think
didn't, I
that's
didn't notice it.
I do think it's a nice touch that they're having to link to Kavir and then shuttle
Or
over on
having
boat to
to,
Agira.
yeah. Because they only have the link to there.
Yeah, and
That's a good point. I just hadn't thought about it. I will
so
say one other thing that struck me as a Myst 3 thing, because, you know, I've noticed things like Atris feels more like Myst 3 Atris in this than he does like Riven and Myst Atris. One other thing was his perception of a situation being dangerous to send a young person in alone is
mm,
different from, I would say, many people's perception of danger.
mm,
It, because you remember Myst 3, like the training ages. I'm like,
mm,
you sent your children here by
mm,
themselves to what? Fall off of this handrail-less scaffolding to their death? Like,
yeah,
Atris, really? And now it's like, well, we don't know what's going on in the upper city or what might be dangerous, but yeah, you want to head a group that just goes up there completely by yourself, alone for days at a time. Go ahead, Marm. Like he just has no perception. And the thing was that was interesting about it to me was at least we know now that it wasn't only his children specifically that he didn't care about their safety.
Uh-huh.
It's anybody. So it wasn't that he was being abusive to his children because he didn't like his children. It was just this man doesn't perceive these things as dangerous.
Mm.
We know that now. So there you go. But it was just like knowing what we know about, like, I don't think it's probably still infectious or whatever, and she's not Denise, so it's probably fine. But like he doesn't know how dangerous it might be, to like send them out on their own. He doesn't know, like, if we're taking the pits as an indication of, there's structural instability post fall, he doesn't know what state it's in. He's just like, yeah, sure, go on by yourself. Take the people that are important to the story and go, enjoy, I guess. And it's just like, personally, we don't know how old they are, but we know that they were like definitely underage when they started 4 years ago, and they're like teenagers now, or at least Marm was. Like there was implication that she was a child when they arrived, and we don't know what constitutes a child. A child could be 15, it depends. But there's no regard for sending this like 16 to 18-year-old child out into a dangerous situation. I just found it like, it is consistent. It is consistent with his character. It's strange, but it is consistent with who he is. Specifically Myst 3, because that's where we really see it, where it's like they were, what we calculate, something like 13-ish when they would have been doing these, something like that. And he just sends them out, and all of those, like, which one was the aged voltaic? Was that the one with all of the like high catwalks?
Oh yeah, but
yeah, where it's like,
the more I
this
look
is
at
just
it,
a death trap.
Yeah, it is a comically dangerous location.
That's a good description. Comically dangerous. And so, like, at the time, I remember being like, Atris, what kind of father are you? You sent your children here when they were children. Like, I would never, as an adult, go on this stuff, like, on purpose. And you're just like, okay, yeah, whatever. I'll send my 13-year-old kid. Like, but now we know it's not. It doesn't have anything to do with them being his children. That's just how he is. He doesn't think things are dangerous, which, to be fair, when he was, 14 and his dad took him, he had him like leaping chasms with no safety anything. Like, he's grown up in a situation that was dangerous, so he doesn't perceive things as dangerous. And I mean, it's fair for his character. I'm not saying that it doesn't make sense or that it's inconsistent, just it was yet another example of it. So, and I still don't know who was already in Denis, that we might have to worry about finding.
Oh, the person from the first.
Yeah, the shadowy figure that we know is there. I do not share Atris's belief that, oh, they're other Denis, they'll be friendly. I don't share that belief whatsoever. Especially since he has brought non-Denis people into the city.
Yes, and actually, that I think you can now revisit your comment from when we read the epilogue, because you thought at the time that when Atris made a comment that he was saying that Iris is Dunny.
Yeah, he's not. He's Avernese, but which makes it a very peculiar way to say what he said.
Yes, but I think it's what he was saying. Well, first of all, I think you were still getting your bearings, because obviously we now know that being on that side of the collapse in the Kavir basement, he wouldn't have access to any Dunny. But and actually, it's interesting that at this point, Atris still has never met a full Dunny.
Right. He's the most he's met is his dad.
Yeah. But I think Atris has. I think in Atris's mind, I think I think your inference from what he was saying, I think you got the inference. You just you you got the inference, and then you also got the presumptions that he was carrying with that inference. Because I do think he thinks that Eurus is Dunny, because to
You
him
do, you
Dunny is
think
just
that.
kind of.
It's more
I think
cultural than genetic to him.
I think Dunny is at this point for him is just kind of everyone who's kind of does some stuff with the art.
Hmm.
It's just kind of this thing.
Yeah, again,
Because
like more
that's the
more
only thing,
knowledge and culture based than
right? And because that's the only way that he can explain that. That's the only way that he can then go on to make a comment that, well, gee, if some biological Dunny visit the cavern and see um, non-biological Dunny here, we're all going to be friends.
right.
Yeah,
Which
it's
is
going to be a
which
fun.
we know is the opposite of true.
Right. Yeah, he's totally wrong, and
Oh, very
he's
wrong.
just yeah he has his
But
own.
it would be fair for him to make an assumption that it would be okay because his father is half and half and he's a quarter. So his only experience is that they do mix with other people.
Yeah, I mean, and it is true that he is familiar with the two exceptions to the rule.
Right. He just
Um,
he just
yeah.
even if Anna told him, even if she told him how crazy it was for Gen to be born, right?
Mhm.
Even if he knows it, he didn't live it. He has no appreciation for exactly how rare this is.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, I think yeah he clearly has some different
Oh yeah.
expectations.
Boy,
So it's
I
so
do
much
not
so that.
anticipate this happening. I will say this is not a prediction that this will happen. This is just I would love to read this scene because he deserves it. But
Mhm.
I would love for him to just like be absolutely put in his place by a full Denis master. It
Mhm.
would be lovely, and I would just sit there and smile and enjoy it. And I don't hate Atris. I want to say, but I don't. He needs a little bit of humbling at this point in his
Mhm.
life. He's a little too Gen right here. He's getting a little confident, and I don't think the
Yeah.
confidence is deserved. So as racist and awful as the Denis are, and I don't like them either in that respect, I would still like them to just take him down a 2, 3 pegs.
Yeah.
Yeah, it just would be
But
fun
yes,
for me. I don't know.
we'll see. But yes, it's certainly important to keep in mind that he has the total expectation that now that he's
Oh yeah.
30 kids running around in the cavern,
Oh
if
yeah.
they run into any real Dunny,
They're gonna
it's
be
all going to
totally
be
fine.
yeah, it's all going to be great. Yeah, he is way into
He's
powwow chow territory at this
oh
point.
yeah, yeah. He really thinks he gets it. He really, 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 really doesn't. It it'll be interesting when they run into whoever it is because as benign a person as it I suppose could be, I don't think they're going to be acting. I mean, the only thing in their favor is that as a whole, the Denis people just don't believe in violence. The
Um,
thing is, whoever has
yeah,
survived may very well not be one of the majority of the people who
mhm.
believe that. Um,
uh, yeah, I think yeah, because and we don't know yet, what state they are in, but
right.
um,
I would
well,
imagine
well,
that honestly, like the fall would have been very traumatic to live through. Like I wouldn't blame
yeah,
anybody for having completely cracked after that.
and just the realities of being stuck on their home
Yeah,
age or communal age or whatever. I mean,
right.
I think it's safe to say from my memory of the book that Robinson Crusoe's views about violence evolved
Yeah.
post shipwreck.
Well, yeah, I mean that's what I'm saying is like we might have a Saavedra situation on our hands where they've been alone for all this
Mhm.
time and they've just completely lost their minds in a very understandable kind of way.
Mhm.
Like they may not care whether these people were full Denis.
Mhm.
They may not be okay anymore. We don't know.
Mhm.
We don't know who it is. We don't know what kind of life they led before the fall. We don't know what they've done after. I
Yeah.
mean, how would you have survived? It couldn't have been good. And then can you imagine coming back by yourself? Like, let's say you're the only survivor from the age that you were in, and you come back to see the state of the place, and you walk back into that?
Yeah.
And that's your whole world. That's your whole people. That's your whole life. Like, it would be just absolutely shattering to have to deal with that. Like, that's how cruel and awful this plot was. That if anyone did survive, they're actually probably suffering more. So it's just, I can't imagine the survivors are in a great state. I mean, we know there are survivors thanks to Myst 3, but they can't be in a good way. I don't know where he's going to find them, but the implication in Myst 3 was that they do go to a bunch of other ages to find them, but hard to say about this one who's here.
You will find out soon enough.
Yep. So for next time,
yeah,
we can finish
we
part
wanna
one,
just
I
complete-
think.
Yeah, that's what I thought
Yeah.
too. Yeah.
Because it's about the same length, so seems like a good place to do it. So
Alright.
I will let you go. We'll wrap up for today. This was an
Sounds good.
interesting
Okay.
little passage.
Yeah, thanks to everyone who participated. It was great.
Yeah. Thanks for showing up,
talk to-
Spiper. It was fun.
people.
And we'll be doing this again week after next. We do it every other Monday. It's been really nice. Thank you both. Oh, thank you. Yeah, I'm glad that you enjoyed. This is always fun to talk about the crazy lore that we probably care about more than most people.
Yeah, it's fun to have you all.
Yep. So thank you for joining us, Everett, and thank you, chat. And we're going to wrap up for today. Like I said, we'll be back with this Monday after next. And in the meantime, I stream on Thursday and Sunday nights much later than this, and I've been playing Blueprints. So I've been going crazy in my own way. Oh, that game will drive you nuts. But anyway, so that'll do it for us for today. Thank you for joining us, and have a good one. We'll see you again next time, I hope. Have a good one, Everett.